asked the people, I said, what are you lined up here for? And there was a sign saying it was a place where you paid your taxes or your water bill. And there were, at the time, 60, 70 people in line. And I asked them, how long have you been waiting? And the people said, well, we've been waiting for about an hour. And this is people who are lined up, okay, to give the city their money. They're coming in to bring their money into the city to pay. I noticed there were 6 windows. They had big numbers on them. You couldn't miss it. There were 6 windows, 3 of which were open. And so I did, and then, by the way, just after I get there, 3 people do show up. Now, do they show up to sit behind the 3 empty desks? No. They send 3 people down to put up ropes to control the crowd. Those ropes with the little poles on them, you know? And I think to myself, isn't this bizarre? They can send 3 people down to put up these ropes to control the crowd, but nobody shows up to actually sit behind the desk and speed up the process of dealing with the taxpayers who have taken their time off work or come from home and stand in line for an hour. So I asked for the supervisor. Nobody seemed to be doing anything about this, and they told me there had been people up on the 2nd floor, which is where the mayor's office and the councillors are, that had been looking down and kind of shaking their heads in dismay at this huge lineup, but no one seemed to be doing anything about it. It was clear no one had. So I said, could I see the supervisor? They referred me to the media department because, of course, they're terrified that, I'm there making inquiries as a member of the media. And I will, in fairness to him, tell you that a gentleman came, and I'm just trying to make sure I remind myself, Kevin Sack. He's from the Strategic Communications Department of the city. I phoned him, and I said, Mr. Sack, I'm down here, there's 80 taxpayers in line, they're waiting an hour, they sent 3 people to put up ropes to contain them, but no people to sit behind the counter of the 3 empty windows at the City Hall. And he said, leave it with me. I tell you, within 3 minutes of my talking to him, another window was open, and a 5th one was soon to be open. The lineup started to move faster, and Mr. Sack, again, to give him his due, Mr. Kevin Sack, actually came downstairs to speak to me and say, look, I'm sorry about this, and so on. Now, he did say to me one thing that I'll take issue with, and I don't mean to be critical because he was very helpful. He said, well, it's the 1st of March, it's a busier day. And I said to him, well, if it's the 1st of March and it's a busier day, why aren't all 6 windows open? Like, this is elementary planning. But you see, this is what goes on. This is what goes on in your government. And if this is how they run the window where you come to pay them your money, to help them pay for things here, then you just know a lot of the big stuff that Shelley Carroll was talking about, over which she has no real opportunity to exercise scrutiny, like the TTC and like the police, are poorly run. If they
this is John Tory's talking common sense, and a lot of people don't quite understand, but he's trying to explain how to fix City Hall. Good luck to him and everybody else.
Down to put the ropes up to contain the crowds. They managed to get 3 people down very efficiently to do that, and it took me, like, nobody behind the counter called anybody, nobody of these knuckleheads up on the 2nd floor watching did anything about it. I showed up, and I'm not trying to give myself any credit, I just showed up and did what any sensible person would do, which is ask to speak to a supervisor, and eventually Mr. Kevin Sack, thank goodness for him, did something about this. But that tells you the story of what's going on here in this building, and why it's important that you should show up here and tell people it's not good enough. Because you know what? It's not good enough. Because I think what bugged the people as much as anything, I had a man show me in the lineup, he had his commercial tax bill for a small business, $38,000. That's what he was here to pay, and to get it stamped by the officials behind the desk. And you know what? He's just saying, for me paying 38 grand to spend an hour of my time away from my business, standing here in line, 3 of the 6 windows are open, nobody cares about my time, nobody respects my time, because they're all busy thinking about themselves, that's what makes him mad. He's paying more, he says he can't afford to pay any more, by the way, but he's paying more to get less, to stand in a lineup for an hour, to wait to pay his 38 grand. So, that's why I'm here, because I'm just trying to sort of say on your behalf, and hope some of you come down, and there's a fair number of people standing around who I think are going to go to this meeting, and I hope say to their city councillors, enough's enough, we can't take this anymore, we are not going to take it anymore, and if you insist on continuing business as usual, increasing taxes, increasing spending, increasing user fees at well above the rate of inflation, we're going to throw you out. We're going to do that in the election this October. So speaking of a guy who'd like to see some people thrown out, or at least see himself thrown in, we'll be joined by Rocco Rossi, candidate for mayor, in just a moment to get